comes from Taylor. Taylor writes, I'd like to get some tips for getting my first turn tighter and not too wide around the barrel. After turning the first, instead of going in a straight line to the second barrel, my horse blows out and then waits until the last minute to get into position. My horse is a 16-hand appendix gelding, and he also bleeds from his nose. Do you have any recommendations for treating a bleeder? Good questions, Taylor. First, I'll say that you want to take your horse's bleeding problem very seriously. Once a horse bleeds, scar tissue is formed in the lungs, and they are much more likely to become chronic bleeders, especially if they aren't conditioned properly or allowed to fully heal after a bleeding episode. I've added a link to a very informative article from Barrel Horse News on this webpage for your reference. Now, let's take a close look at your problem on the barrel pattern. If your horse has a habit of turning wide, we want to really focus on figuring out why, so that we can prevent this from happening again and becoming an even more established habit. When we break it down, we can figure there is at least one of two probable things happening. It's really important here to think about what happened before what happened happened. I'd like to use a diagram of the barrel pattern to better explain what I mean.
There's a good chance that your horse has a positioning problem either coming into or on the back side of the turn, causing him to come out of the turn wide and get off track going to the second barrel. A solution to this problem might be as simple as allowing him more room on the back side of the turn so that he can straighten his body as he leaves for a straight shot to the second barrel. Also, keep in mind that if you rush the turn or pull on the rein as you're coming around, that his momentum and energy could leak out and pull him out wide if you're not allowing him the time and room for his hind end to finish the turn and get positioned properly for a powerful straight departure. I'll show you an old photo of my horse and I when we used to have this exact problem. You'll see that my head is already turned and looking at the second barrel, and that I'm really pulling on my horse's mouth here. It's good to look where you're going, but I'm doing it too soon here and not giving him enough time to finish the turn. This resulted in coming off wide the first barrel and then not being in line for a straight shot to the second barrel. Pulling my horse around to keep him on the right path didn't work. It actually made the problem worse.
We have to train our horses to follow the correct path on the pattern and stay on path on their own with very little guidance from us. As we do, we have to make sure we ask them to travel in a way that makes running barrels as easy as possible for them. When I didn't allow enough room on the back side of the barrel, it actually made it pretty much impossible for my horse to make a nice tight turn. So to make sure your horse is positioning himself properly and following the correct tracks, you want to start from the beginning with slow work, and as you do, be very aware of where your horse's feet are. You want your horse to follow the same tracks around the pattern at a walk, trot, and as you add speed. Ride with a very soft feel on the reins, letting your horse show you where he knows to go. If at any time he steps off track, correct him by using leg pressure. In order for your horse to understand what the mistake was, it's very critical that you make the correction the instant he gets off track. Only move up to a faster gait when your horse is staying perfectly positioned at the speed you're at. While you're in this retraining process, don't plan on competing or you and your horse are likely to just revert back to your old habits. Remember that your horse's positioning must be very solid going slow in order to hold up in a run. When you go back to the basics and retrain your horse to position himself correctly so that he has enough room to turn efficiently and ensure that you're allowing enough time for your horse's entire body to straighten out, I would bet that you'll be set up for a tight, fast turn around the first barrel and a powerful straight shot to the second.